Hey everyone, it's brew day at that there brewery, which is my house basically, and this is going to be my third all grain batch. One was from a kit, one was from a recipe that I did myself, and what I'm doing today is the exact same recipe as that second one because I think I messed that one up. So I'm doing it again, and the recipe is 1 kilo of basic 2-row Maris Otter, that's our British 2-row, and then 250 grams of Vienna malt with 5 litres of water. I am using a Mangrove Jack's M36 Liberty Bell yeast, and I've got in this little bag an ounce, 25 grams of Citra hops. So my water's just coming up to temperature. I've got my grains there ready to go in. What I'm going to do when it comes to the boil is put the hops in at 45, 30 and 15 because I'm not a huge fan of hoppy beers. What my ideal beer would be something really lemony and really zesty at the end, you know, and not too bitter, sort of golden colour as well. So just about ready to put these in. The temperature is 72 degrees. I have my anti-dough ball machine, otherwise known as a whisk, which has worked every time, or twice, and that's the cat. And so we shall just take our thermometer out. And I've got 5 litres of water in there to 1.25 kilos of mash malt. So give it a good stir. Absolutely guaranteed no dough balls with the old flippage of the whisk. That smells fab. There we go, dumps all in. Over there. Just turn that heat off. There we go. So that is now ready to go. So let's have a quick check of the temperature, and that has dropped to from 72. That's dropped down to 64 degrees. So I'm just going to turn the heat back on a little bit to get it up to 66. I'll turn the heat back on to get it up to 66, and then I shall wrap it in a little blanket and cover it over for 20 minutes or so. Check on the temperature in 20 minutes. If it needs a bit more, I'll give it a bit more gas, and I'll do that every 20 minutes for the hour. And hopefully what I should get is a starting gravity of about 1054, which is a 75%ish, I think, efficiency, which is not too bad considering I'm doing it in a £20 stock pot from a local supermarket. So here's the mash. It's at 66 degrees now, and one of the things I've seen lots of videos of is how thick it is. So this is how thick it is for me. It's really quite watery, but I'm not so sure that's not too bad a thing, because my sort of understanding of science is if there's no water for the sugar to dissolve into, the sugar won't dissolve. So there's plenty of water in there. Like I say, 5 litres to 1.25 kilos of grain, and you know, 1054 for that sort of gloopiness of mash. I think that's pretty good efficiency. So it's bang on 66. I'm going to cover it over and come back to it in about 20 minutes. Alright, so we've had about 20 minutes, so we're going to unwrap the beast and see how much temperature is lost, put any more heat back into it that's needed, and rewrap it and leave it for another 20 minutes. That's not the cat's blanket at all. And 61. So I'll stick the smallest burner on and whiz it back up another 3 or 4 degrees, and then wrap it up again and come back to it in another 20 minutes. So here we are at the sparge stage. So we've done our 60-minute mash, and I'm just letting it drain. I've just got a bit of a colander in the top of my cheapy stock pot, and I've got a kettle with a thermometer on it, so it's at 75 degrees at the minute, and for a 5 litre batch I need a boil volume of, I'm going for a boil volume of about 7.5 litres. I'm not sure whether that's right or not, but it gives me about an hour of a boil. So on with that, I suppose. Right, so we're now at the boil stage. It's boiling away nicely. You'll note that I have a little rolling pin across the top of my stock pot, boil kettle, and that's some nonsense that I saw on a cooking programme ages ago about Italian grandmothers putting wooden spoons over the spaghetti water so it didn't boil over. So I've got a rolling pin over my little stock pot, and it doesn't seem to be boiling over, so that seems to be working pretty well. I'll just quickly go through again what I'm doing. I've got 1.25 kilos of grains, 1 kilo of Marisotta, and 250 grams of Vienna malt. I've got the Mangrove Jack M36 Liberty Bell yeast, and I'm going to add the Citra hops at 45 minutes, 30 and 15 minutes. We've just started the boil now, so give it about 15 minutes and I'll start adding them in. And the next thing then will be, once the boil is done, is to cool it down, and I'll have something else to say about that as well. Okay, so we're now down to the cooling, the boil's over. I've added my ounce of Citra hops. I've had a quick taste, it's really quite bitter, but I'm hoping it'll get a bit more lemony as it ferments a little bit. So the next thing I need to do is cool this down. Now, I've seen people using wort chillers and that kind of thing, but I thought to myself, I wonder what the surface area of a wort chiller is in comparison to the actual vessel that you're using it in. So I did a little bit of maths, simple maths, and I came up with, so if you wanted to use, say, a 20 litre pot, which is maybe 5 gallons or so, a pot that I've found online, it's 32 centimetres tall, so just under 13 inches, and 16 centimetres across. And the surface area of the actual pot would, to match it with a wort chiller, you would need 28 feet of copper pipe to match that. So that's something that I've been thinking about, because I quite fancy wort chiller, you know, being a bloke and what have you. I'm a bit of a gadget, but for the minute, I seem to be just happy to keep the pan cold. That's already cold, and I've already got it down 30 degrees in a couple of minutes, just by moving the water around the pan. Because the surface area of the pan, and the actual pan itself, is quite substantial, really. And I sort of wonder about whether we need a wort chiller or not. So I'm going to go for another, 15 minutes or so until this gets down to pitching temperature. I'm already down to 70 degrees, so it shouldn't take too long. And then it'll just be a case of put it in the bucket, put the yeast in, and then leave it understairs for a week and see how it goes. So here we are in the garden. The boil's finished, cooled the wort down, got it down to 22 degrees, pitched the yeast. Starting gravity was actually a little better than last time, so it was 1056. So I'm hoping to get it down to 1010, which will give it about 5.7, 5.8% alcohol. So it's sat understairs now, in its little bucket. I'll give it a week, so I'm not going to dry hop it because I'm not a fan of the super hoppy taste. But from an initial taste, the Citra hops does make it quite bitter. It's quite 13.3% alpha acids, whatever that means, so it does make it quite bitter. But I might try adding some lemon juice in, but we'll see how it goes. Give it a week and it should stop bubbling away tomorrow, and then I'll just take it from there. I've got the exact same recipe for my next brew, but I'm going to use a different yeast, and I think I might add some lemon juice into that one as well. It might help with the pH, which is something that I'm picking up from, I think the guy's called Jason. He lives in Glendale in Los Angeles, and he's got the YouTube channel Beer and the Hops TV. He seems very knowledgeable about all these sorts of things, and he's quite perky and American about it. You know, he likes it, and he's good fun. So I'm going to keep watching him, and I'm going to have this is a Cornish IPA, St Austell's. I've got a bit of a tandoori chicken. I'm going to sit in the garden with the cat and watch the sun go down and hope the best for the brew.